Hello, you're watching TVP World News. I'm Jonasz Rewiński. Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk is hosting his Estonian counterpart Kristen Michal in Warsaw on Wednesday for a bilateral meeting. The war in Ukraine is expected to be at the top of the agenda, and the heads of government are expected to discuss military aid for Ukraine as well as further sanctions against Russia. The two leaders will also touch on the subject of security in the region and preparations for the NATO summit in The Hague in 2025. In addition, the talks between Tusk and Michal will also focus on the priorities of the Polish presidency of the Council of the European Union, which begins on the 1st of January. A joint press conference is expected to be held after the meeting. We're still waiting for that press conference. In the meantime, Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk said on Tuesday that peace talks on the war in Ukraine could possibly start as soon as this winter. This comes as Poland prepares to host a series of meetings on ending the conflict, most notably with French President Emmanuel Macron on Thursday.
I'd like to inform you that I will have a series of talks concerning primarily the situation beyond our eastern border. As you can imagine, our delegation will be responsible for, among other things, what the political calendar will look like, perhaps what the situation will be like during the negotiations which, although it's still uncertain, may start in the winter of this year. I really want Poland to be the country that will not only be present but will set the tone for these decisions that are to bring us security and secure Polish interests.
Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelenskyy held a telephone conversation with Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk on Tuesday. The talks focused on Poland's support for neighboring Ukraine and the upcoming Polish EU presidency.
I spoke with Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk. I thanked him for the unwavering support of friendly Poland and the implementation of the new military assistance package. We discussed Ukraine's progress on its European integration path and the priorities of Poland's 6-month presidency of the Council of the EU, which begins in January. We agreed to exchange visits in the near future to better coordinate our joint efforts.
In an interview with TVP World, Kurt Volker, the former U.S. ambassador to NATO, emphasized Poland's role as a bridge connecting the United States and Europe in order to reach an agreement between Ukraine and Russia.
Poland has an almost unique opportunity in Europe. It is very well respected in the United States, including by President Trump and the Trump administration. You'll remember from his first term that he increased the U.S. involvement and presence at NATO bases and so forth in Poland. Poland is respected. It has the opportunity to say we are already spending well more than our share on defense. We are committed to this and we're capable with this. And to convince the U.S. to work with Europe to get to where Poland is and that Poland will help. And also to work within Europe to say we can't do what we've always done. We have to do better and we have to do more because we have a difficult situation in Europe. Russia's war against Ukraine, largest war in Europe since World War II, and a U.S. that is very impatient and frustrated, but we don't want to lose the U.S. So let's work together to figure out how we as Europeans can do better at this ourselves.
The United States announced on Tuesday that it had given Ukraine a $20 billion loan using funds from profits earned on frozen Russian assets. The loan forms part of a $50 billion G7 support package. The U.S. Treasury said on Tuesday that it had transferred the $20 billion to a World Bank fund, where it will be available for Ukraine to draw upon. Money handled by the World Bank cannot be used for military purposes. In October, the G7 agreed to use the interest generated by frozen Russian assets, around $3 billion a year, to fund $50 billion in credit over 30 years. Payments were expected to start by the end of this year. Janet Yellen, the U.S. Secretary of the Treasury, said the funds are intended to ensure Ukraine has, and I quote, the resources it needs to sustain emergency services, hospitals, and other foundations of its brave resistance. Canada has approved approximately $587 million worth of military assistance to help Ukraine defend itself against Russian aggression. According to Canadian Defence Minister Bill Blair, the funds will be used for ammunition, training and other resources that Ukraine needs to secure its victory. The Canadian Parliament has also approved the allocation of approximately $35 million for demining and for strengthening Ukraine's cyber resistance. Canada has committed $4.5 billion in military assistance to Ukraine since the beginning of the Russian full-scale invasion. The country has also imposed sanctions on 9 additional Russian citizens for crimes against the Russian people. Ukrainian cruise missiles struck an oil depot in Russia's Bryansk region overnight. Local residents heard several explosions, after which a massive fire broke out. Russia's Transneft oil depot was set ablaze by Ukraine's latest cruise missiles, nicknamed the Peklo, which means hell in Ukrainian. 2 diesel locomotives providing supplies to Russian troops were lost in the fire. The transshipment point of the Druzhba oil pipeline, which also delivers fuel for the Russian military, suffered a major blow as well. This is not the first time that Ukraine has targeted Russian energy facilities. On the 5th of December, 2 more diesel locomotives were hit. In an interview with TVP World, Rostislav Hotin, senior editor at the Ukrainian service at Radio Free Europe Radio Liberty, talked about the expectations that Russia's war in Ukraine may end in 2025.
There is wide expectations that the war should end in next year, but the thing is, the problem is on which terms it should end, on the Ukrainian terms or on Russian terms, because Russia wants to clearly stay and occupy territories which are now under its control, and Ukrainians want not just any peace or just ceasefire. No, they want fair and lasting peace in this war.
Despite his ambiguous stance on NATO and urging Kiev to make a deal with Russia, Donald Trump is trusted by almost half of all Ukrainians. That's according to the latest report released by the Ukrainian New Europe Center.
The future U.S. president is trusted by some 44.6% of Ukrainians. The authors of the report attribute this support to Trump having a more decisive and clear approach to solving the Russo-Ukrainian conflict than Biden. However, according to the report, the leaders most trusted by the Ukrainians are European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen and Polish President Andrzej Duda. Both are trusted by 65% of Ukrainians.
Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orbán has met with U.S. President-elect Donald Trump in his Mar-a-Lago residence in Palm Beach, Florida. This is the second time this year that the Hungarian Prime Minister visited Trump at his Florida home.
While at Mar-a-Lago, Viktor Orbán also met with Elon Musk and future National Security Advisor Michael Waltz. The meeting was brief, with none of the participants giving any public statements after the talks. While the topic of the meeting was not disclosed, unofficial reports and onlookers suggest that it might have had to do with Russia's invasion of Ukraine and possible peace scenarios. Both Trump and Orbán have previously supported the idea of negotiating potential peaceful solutions to the conflict with Moscow.
Probably, like me, a little bit controversial.
Szymon Hołownia, the Speaker of the Polish Parliament, flew to Finland for an official 2-day visit on Tuesday evening. This will be Hołownia's first international trip since he announced his intention to run for president in the 2025 election. While in Finland, Hołownia will meet with the country's President Alexander Stubb, Speaker of the Finnish Parliament Jussi Halla-aho, and the country's Foreign Minister Elina Valtonen. On Thursday, Hołownia is also scheduled to visit a shelter for the citizens of Helsinki. Talks started in Romania on Tuesday between pro-Western parties seeking to form a coalition government. Party representatives predict an administration will be in place by the end of the year. One of the new government's priority tasks will be organizing fresh presidential elections, after November's first round vote was annulled by the Constitutional Court over allegations of Russian meddling. The Social Democratic Party finished first in a parliamentary ballot held on the 1st of December, followed by the far-right Alliance for the Unification of Romanians, the National Liberal Party, and the reformist Save Romania Union. Once the new parliament has been sworn in, the president will nominate a prime minister following consultations with parliamentary parties. The prime minister designate will then propose ministers and a program of government. And that's all for now. Thank you for watching, and please stay with us here on TVP World.